To order the regular meeting of the Park Ridge Park District Board of Park Commissioners. It is Thursday, April 20th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the boardroom at Prospect Park, Woolers Hall, 733 North Prospect Avenue, Park Ridge. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary Ann, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bendy? Here. Commissioner Bowe?
Here.
Commissioner Coyne?
Here.
Commissioner Grau?
Here.
Commissioner Hulting?
Here.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Here.
Commissioner LeDuc?
Here. Does anybody have anything to add or delete or amend regarding the current agenda? All right, seeing none, is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Nope, I guess we used up all our public comments on the last meeting. So, all right. I move to approve the regular board meeting minutes of Thursday, March 16th, 2023 and Thursday, April 6th, 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. I also move to approve the closed meeting minutes as identified in Exhibit A and maintain these minutes in the closed meeting records of the Park Ridge Park District, finding good cause exists to maintain them as confidential. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, it's voice vote. Oh, sorry. I was looking at the note under there. Yeah, sorry. Because both are listed. All right. So once again, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. As my president's report, the only thing I want to report is I want to give a little shout out to Brickton. A local Girl Scout troop utilized them for a leader-daughter celebration to make paintings, and it was a really well-received event, and Brickton did a great job. All right, so Dirk, do you have any attorney report for us?
I sent that in my Friday report about that committee, that local government efficiency. So the staff is coming up with some names. The big thing we have to do is find two at least two, members of the public to be on this committee, and it meets 3 times within 18 months. So if you have anybody, any names of anybody, one I thought of is Matt Coyne, who's sitting right here. That'll be off the board next month. But we have to, as Dirk said, at the May, I have it for the second meeting in May, that will appoint that committee. But it's basically the board, myself, and 2 members of the public. But they have to agree to it by then, right? The members of the public, pretty much. Yeah.
They need to be part of your committee at that point.
Yeah.
And the committee was created in lieu of part of a long story about what is the role of township government. They can't just pick on townships, so they included all units of government except municipalities have to talk about all their intergovernmental cooperation and how they serve their mission. Because there are people who are looking to do away with the units of government in Illinois, including things like park districts, and move them into municipal rec departments and then just be a subset of the municipality. We're not the primary focus of those efforts. Township governments are. But all units of government other than municipalities and counties are asked to do this. So we need people who understand all of the intergovernmental work we do and how we fulfill our mission. So that's why it's not, we can't think of anybody else. It's because of all the knowledge you've accumulated.
I would just like to say that I'd like to have you guys on my sales team at my office because I'm pretty sure I'd write a lot more business.
Do you accept?
If I'm being asked, I'll accept. Yeah, I'll accept. it.
Excellent. Great. One down.
Can I, can
I have
I,
a friend. No.
Does that mean I get to leave now, though?
No.
no, you're stuck. Can I have a little more context on like what will be discussed,
Sure.
decided, and like
well-
just more what the work of the committee will be?
There's a. Go ahead, Dirk. You.
The statute is about efficiency. So the background, as I was explaining, is about intergovernmental, or well, governmental efficiency. Illinois is famous for having the most units of local government of any state in the union. And so one of the issues is why? Why have we done that? It's a vestige of the Northwest Territory Act. You know, for those of you who remember your 8th grade history, the idea of it in Illinois under our 1970 Constitution is local control. These governments are formed by people locally, so they have local control, whether it's 3 levels of school districts like a elementary, middle, and a high school, and that's what that community wants, whether it's a larger unit district, townships, mosquito abatement districts, whatever it is, those are formed locally. Well, now there are people who say it's out of control, we need to do away with them. The primary focus of some of that has been township government to justify their job. There are townships in Illinois where the road commissioner, the highway commissioner, manages less than a mile of linear length of road because the municipalities and the state otherwise control. So in that background, there was a movement under Governor Rauner to establish efficiencies and what is the role of each unit of government and how are they fulfilling their mission and where are their possibilities for savings. That didn't get any traction, but typical Springfield, what they did do was say, all right, we'll study it with everybody, and they mandated these decennial committees. So every 10 years, all units of government have to study what their mission is, how they're fulfilling it, and what their intergovernmental cooperation looks like. And that applies to everybody except municipalities and counties. And so for park districts, one of the issues that is of concern to those who believe in the mission of park districts is there are some who want to roll you into being just a department of a municipality and do away with your levy, do away with your specific mission-focused budget and funds, and just roll you into your local municipality or a county. Jason Anselman spoke on this a couple of places at conference. He sent it to you, those of you who get the IAPD legislative updates. We do not want to be cookie cutters where we all send in the same report to Springfield as park districts, because then they'll say, see, it's just all cookie cutter. You guys really aren't contributing or adding. So it's the role of this committee will be, in part, a bit of advocacy about what it is you do. Now, you have a lot of intergovernmental arrangements that you're involved in. Easy, low-hanging fruit is your SRA. I mean, that's how we provide those kinds of services to the community that needs them and is inclusive, and we do that through intergovernmental cooperation with other districts and all the rest. That's an easy, low-hanging example, but that's just one. We need to talk about all the other ones we do, and then things we might want to consider, and that's why the public has to be involved, is what do people who aren't elected to this mission, what do they think about it? What can they bring? And then that's all part of the report. So it's going to be adopting a lot of what your annual report is about everything you do. It's adopting a lot of what's on your website about what you do, but it's also addressing why you're important, why you're worth the tax dollar. And that's an easy story for some places, and that's a particularly easy story here, but it's not easy everywhere. But when you ask what's the role of the committee, it's that. Why the Park Ridge Park District?
Is there like, sorry, I'm just trying to understand, is there like a template? Like, are there like sections that you're supposed to fill out? Can
Well,
we get like the last one we did? Just
There's
so
never
I-
been, this is brand new.
This is brand new.
Oh, okay. I thought you said every 3 years, like this had been
Every
a-
10 years.
Every 10.
It's gonna have,
sorry.
yeah, it's gonna be in place.
Hence
every time.
decennial.
This is
But
the
yeah,
first
This
one.
is the first one. Okay.
Yep. And the odd thing is you have to file the report with the county, and there's no mandate anywhere that anybody reads it.
Right.
But
Okay.
being aware of the legislators who gave us this gift,
We'll look
They're going to collect them for their purposes to say, do away. So,
So it's a new thing, and there's like,
There's a template
There's a
report
template
from
with the
IAPD,
sections, okay.
right?
and there's what the statute requires. But again, we don't want to be cookie cutter. We want to talk about what you do. And it's an opportunity to talk about what it is you do.
and I think it's also like how what we do is not redundant.
Correct.
What the city
Exactly.
does,
In the township
and
and,
it's unique, and it, okay.
Right, and how you focused on your mission, they focus on, and you, through intergovernmental cooperation, procure things together, save taxpayers money, all those kinds of things.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, I envision like the 3 meetings, like splitting up, like how IAPD has it set up in this like report that we'd go through divide it in 3, go through each section, and it's going to be the staff bringing a lot of, the committee, a lot of the information, and the committee members asking questions, or bringing up other things that might be a good idea to do, or asking questions about what we do. That makes sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, if somebody comes to the top of your head, if there's another person,
Hopefully
I've got to,
somebody else does come to the top of my head.
Okay.
but
okay,
Sure.
great. Thank you.
Thank you. It's all clear. She can.
Her brain is somewhere else.
So, yeah, Dale,
Yes.
Executive Director.
That's
What do
my
you got?
report. No, I'm just kidding. Speaking of Thorgard, we've been dealing a lot with that and getting the information out to the public about Thorgard with all these storms. We're going to be doing social media posts on it and getting back to our affiliates about reminding them of the importance of listening to Thorgard. So we've had some communication with that and some residents. It's Sandra's second to last meeting, so ask her a lot of questions. Just kidding. We have a lot of staff training going on. Karen has moved upstairs to the attic because we've got a new person coming in, Lucy, for the accounting manager on Monday. So a lot of internal stuff going on at the district and really just busy. That's all. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I want to know why Sandra's smiling.
You have to ask. She's joyful, especially joyful right now. That's all I have.
Terry told me about the sustainability coordinator interviews are underway.
Yes.
So, and there are good people apparently.
Yeah. Lots of interviewing going on the district lately. Yes, we've had job creations. We've had great candidates, great people
That's going on the report.
joining us. Right. Yeah. I don't have anything else for now.
Well, then let's move on to marketing and public relations.
Margaret, have anything?
Anything?
We had a great meeting on the website redesign. That's one of the goals for this year. A lot of great conversation, and so I think we'll be seeing that in the fall. But a lot of development behind the scenes for a lot of improvements at the website. So, anything else?
Will it be easier to find the schedule of things going on at the gym?
Thank you for your feedback.
I had it a couple years ago, and my husband had it recently. He said I gave up.
All right.
So I thought I'd pass that on.
I'll make that note. I did want to also highlight the Friends of the Parks, and today they were the change maker for Go Green Park Ridge. They were change makers this month. So congratulations to Friends of the Park for the bike sale and their environmental efforts and that. Right?
Yeah, for the bike, yes, for reuse and reduce, I guess. So bike sales next Saturday. Not this Saturday, next Saturday. And there's lots of big bikes too. If anybody needs an adult bike.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Anything for Human Resources?
Just to note all of the job fairs, the staff's done a great job with the recruiting efforts. I think as of now, I've heard we're in really good shape, except for day camp is still looking for a lot of people, but other than that, nothing to report.
All right. On to finance. Commissioner Bowe?
Let the countdown begin with Superintendent DeAngelis, so I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Treasurer Bowe. The written finance report begins on page 16 of your board packet. I do want to highlight, as Gail mentioned, we've been spending a lot of time on transition, and I want to shout out to Karen, who did a terrific job of preparing all of the reports this month. So we've been working together closely to make sure that it's a smooth transition, as well as writing the narrative. So she's well positioned to take off next month because I have a conflict and won't be able to make the meeting where we present the reports. So I feel like we're in a good place with that. She's doing fantastic. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, I also wanted to point out that the audit will also be presented at that second meeting in May. So we're working heavily on preparing all of the narrative and the schedules that go along with the report right now. So if anyone has any other questions on the written report, I'd be happy to answer them. Commissioner Grau?
It's starting to get very complicated with the taxes because you have last year's taxes this year and then this year's taxes 1 month out. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. So
I agree. It's complicated and it's affected a little bit the fund balance projections. But I feel like since we've gotten in the first half installment, we will have gotten it in substantially as of the end of April, that the comparisons to budget will make a lot more sense.
yeah, it's just crazy trying to spell it out for us because you do such a good job of timing when things should hit. I don't know. I mean, maybe we won't be able to do that anymore if you have to do all this fixing of things.
Well, hopefully,
We're back on track.
yeah, I don't.
I know it is, but I'm just saying you're doing all this trying to track month by month, and if one of our largest sources of revenue isn't going to work that way, maybe we can't be that accurate anymore.
Well, I guess that's kind of a good segue to go to the monthly report by funds, unless anyone has any other questions on the written report. Okay, then I guess what I do want to highlight, is that that variance between the property taxes and the budget. That's really what in the written report I'm kind of adding that back, and because we very consistently have collected our property taxes. It's just a timing issue. So when we look at that throughout all the funds, when we add in that variance to our net position, we're ahead of budget. So that's like one thing I wanted to highlight, that we're on track because of that. And expense-wise, especially early in the year, we do tend to lag the budget projections, but particularly the biggest category where we see that is in salaries and wages, because of the timeline of how we do our merit performance reviews. And then there's a retroactive catch-up, which just happened this month. So in the April report, I'm expecting that both taxes and expenses should be better in line. So I wanted to highlight that. And I also wanted to highlight that all of the reports now reflect the issuance of the bonds. So we can see that the big number in bond proceeds in in the all funds and in the capital fund reports. And then as we move forward into the projections, you can see that our actuals are slightly above our projected fund balance. And this is where it gets a little confusing because of the cash position and where we were projecting and when the property taxes from last year came in, et cetera. But it's reflecting that we're doing better than budgeted. And you can also see with these bars that are now up close to the line that we've invested the proceeds of the bonds. Commissioner Grau?
So I guess we couldn't budget for the bond, so our budget's always going to look wacky for the bond proceeds.
Right. Well, I guess I would say that we could have at the last minute try to update everything, but being that it was so late in the budget planning when the referendum was passed, we didn't make that adjustment. But we have adjusted for it in this projection graph. So, any other questions? Thank you.
I'm sure you're doing a great job of bringing the new superintendent up to speed. So she's got all the confidence from all of us. So looking forward to that. All right, I'll turn this back over to. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got a motion here. All right, I move to approve the payment in the payment vouchers in the total of $652,431.94.
Second.
Any discussion?
Who seconded it?
Oh.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Sure. Commissioner Bendy? Yes. Commissioner Bowe?
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne?
Aye.
Commissioner Grau?
Yes.
Commissioner Hulting?
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel?
Yes.
Commissioner Leduc?
Yes.
And that passes, and I'll turn this over to Commissioner Coyne.
Thank you, and I will turn the floor over to Superintendent Armour for her report.
Thank you. My report begins on page 29. It's full of lots of photos of fun things happening. I am pleased to report the Park District again received the IAPD Power Play Grant in the amount of $1,000. So that goes towards the Beyond the Bell program. The email confirming the grant is at the end of the report in the correspondence and communications section. So March was full of St. Patrick's Day, spring events, egg hunts, party at the Activity Center for St. Patrick's Day. So lots of things going on for all ages. And then the preschoolers had several fun events in March as well. The Beyond the Bell participation increased since the last meeting because of the new participant registration. And we did receive some great news today from District 64. We had a meeting and they are giving us more space at the 3 schools that have current wait lists. So we're very grateful for that. They met with the principals. So now the team from BTB will go assess the spaces and figure out new maximums and then start working on the wait list. So that's great news. And they're also definitely open to working with us if we get to that point with the other 2 schools also. So we're very grateful. It's, it's all the same students and participants. So it's, I know there will be many parents that are very grateful once we get to working through the wait list. I did want to point out the Wildwood participation on page 32. They always have great numbers, but like this one really just popped out for me when I was reading the initial report. I'm like, is this right? It's great. They always have such great programs. And again, the Ice Arena programs, they just keep commenting that, the younger age groups have been coming back and they're great to see the intro classes filling up. And our new supervisor is, of course, doing a wonderful job. The STAR programs, memberships, and trips are all doing really well. And we had our new recreation supervisor started yesterday. We're thrilled to have her. Her name is Eileen Gabrielle Galland. She comes from the Northbrook Park District and previously worked at Mather, which shut down during COVID for 20 years. So we are excited to have her experience. It's also wonderful to see the fitness center membership and group fitness participation grow. And the indoor swim lessons saw slightly higher participation than last year at this time also. Well, it's not in this report. I figured you would all ask about pool passes. So they went on sale in early April, and we're definitely on track with sales from last year at this time. As of this morning, we had 536 household sales compared to 544 on this day last year. So we're definitely on track. Otherwise, staff across the board have been very busy interviewing, preparing for summer, working on summer brochure, and also got to give a plug for Earth Day this weekend. If you're around, please stop by and do a little rain dance for no rain, the opposite of the rain dance, I guess. They move inside, yeah. Oh, they did today. Okay. Any questions about the report or? Oh, yes.
I had a couple of questions. First, on page 31, under the youth teen participants, I was noticing that with spring break camp, right, like most of the programs, it seems like have come back to pretty close to pre-COVID levels, but I was noticing the spring break camp was still precipitously lower, and I was wondering, was part of that, because I know that it used to be you could like book per day versus booking the whole week. So, you know, back when it would say, you know, like 216 back in 2019, was part of that like some of the same people just booking for
I
multiple
can
dates?
ask. I know generally the day off school programs and the week-long camps have been lower than COVID. I don't know if people are pre-COVID, I should say. I don't know if less people are going out of town, but that could be, we might not be comparing apples to apples, so I'll double check on that one.
And then I was wondering if there was any thought about maybe returning to the like day by day version, because like I know personally, once I got tagged for jury duty, I contemplated sending my daughter to the spring break camp for a couple days, but then when I saw it was the whole week, I was like, oh, and opted not to.
They haven't mentioned that, but I can also ask. It's been challenging with staffing on those breaks, so sometimes it's, you know, if we get a huge jump on one day versus another day, we may have a challenge with that. But I can ask also.
And I was just wondering, that might actually, I would think that there's probably other people where maybe the parents couldn't get off work the full week and just needed coverage 1 or 2 days, and that might make that program a little more popular again, just something to maybe look at.
Sure.
And then my other thought was on page 35, where it talked about the garden plots and how the community garden lottery was held, and that all 22 plots were filled, and that the wait list was 64. So with the wait list being like 3 times the number of plots, it kind of seems like that's something we'd want to look into, adding more plots.
We already have that.
But that's for next year, but not for, okay. 'Cause, yeah, I saw that and I was like, ooh, these are definitely very popular.
I wondered if some of them were spouses.
There was some duplication, so they did go through the list and confirm, you know, did you both sign up or did you want 2 plots? So originally, I think there were 78 or something, but once they went through the list, it was, you know, pared down a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, but some of the reasons that the people gave were like increased traffic, and I haven't. Yeah, I'm not sure if any of the. I haven't heard about wayward gardeners causing problems or
So far, no gardener riots in the
or extra
streets.
traffic in that area due to the. Those were the things that I recall people being, like the gardens bringing unsavory characters to Elm Street.
But anyway, I just like when I noticed that, I was like, "Ooh, this is definitely reinforcing the idea that they're popular and we should expand." All right, that's all my only comments for recreation.
Anyone else? Commissioner Grau.
I think on page 30, that Carpenter number is wrong on PM wait list. The total is wrong. It says 0. Well, it says 30 on the Carpenter wait list for Beyond the Bell. It says
On
0.
you mean on the current or
No.
on which one?
The future. Well, it says 30 on my sheet, so I don't know how I got 31. But anyway, it says 0. Yeah, the total. It's not a big.
Oh, on the back. I see what you're saying.
I'm sorry.
Yes. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. So
I was looking at the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I just want to thank you and Terry for going above and beyond with our pause park. I was really sorry to hear that incident, and thank you. So you look okay. Are you guys okay?
Anything else? No, then we're good. Thank you very much. Thank you. And next on the docket is Buildings and Grounds and Commissioner Halting.
Thank you. I will turn it over to Superintendent Wolf to review his quite detailed list.
Thank you. I decided to change the format of my report to give a little different perspective on the things we're doing in the Buildings and Grounds Department. So we're planning on continuing with this as we go forward, with the idea that I will continue to just update and add information on capital projects as information under each area until the point at which they're completed, and then I'll identify them as completed, then they'll fall off the list in the time frame after that. So unless, of course, something gets way too long and it's taking up too much space, then I might consider consolidation, but we'll see how it goes. Interestingly, there was literally one, maybe two capital projects that we have on our docket for this year that I chose not to do anything with because we haven't just had time to do anything with. And one of them is the garden plots that we will be expanding this year that we did budget for. It's anticipated that we would be doing it in the summer months, in the hot summer months when we're hopefully not cutting grass because it's at that dormant stage in the July, August time frame, but in a time that we're ready for next year. Planting season. So we didn't anticipate that we would have done anything yet, and so I just didn't feel like it was appropriate to just have it there and say haven't started yet. So I didn't have it on there. So, but that is as a reminder, that is a project for next year. I did have a few things I wanted to follow up on, and the first one is a follow up just from our last meeting. We had a resident here that came to share some concerns about from the perspective of baseball, about dog waste and garbage cans near the fields. And thank you, Commissioner Grau, for validating that we do pick up the garbage on a regular basis. We do, in fact, do that. I'm working with my staff on kind of addressing this. We actually did hear from a rec manager, rec staff member at one of our facilities about the same issue near the entrance of one of our facilities. And so we're going to be kind of taking a holistic look at where the garbage cans are positioned in some of our parks and maybe affixing them in different locations so that it's maybe not right next to a spectator area or right next to a seating area on a field. It's right, not, make another can available so that someone walking their dog doesn't go out of their way to get to the one that's right near the entrance of our fitness center, because they're never going to be walking that close to the fitness center entrance with their dog because they're not walking into the door of there. So if we have one positioned just a short ways away, they'll be more inclined to use that. So we're taking that approach versus the approach of, adding in those small dog waste stations with the small cans and the little baggies, because those, in experience from what I've talked to with others and from experiences that actually Christy had at other park districts that she was at, it costs a tremendous amount of money and creates a tremendous amount of additional waste of plastic bags, and still people put their dog waste wherever they want anyway. So it just ended up not being fruitful. So just wanted to let the board know that we are looking into that and we'll be continuing to work on that issue. Also, I wanted to let the board know that the RTU for the fitness center has been ordered. I was advised today that they had an additional $200 of incentives available from ComEd, and they've switched how they're doing that. It's no longer a rebate, but an immediate discount at the point of purchase. So we're going to be processing a change order to effectuate that that additional change immediately and getting that project going. But otherwise, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has about anything in my board report.
Do you have something?
You do it.
I do it.
Uh-oh. Sounds
Well, you were looking at me intensely like you had a question. I was just wondering if, like, there's a bullet under Oakton. The team met on April 11th to review facility layout updates.
Mhm.
Just can you expound
Sure.
on like what the moving pieces are there?
Yeah, so we've had some, some meetings with the team as a whole, and some of that this process and this stage is confirming the spaces and the sizes that we need. The initial plan kind of just laid itself out, and then as the team from White is working through that, they're starting to identify, budget and looking for efficiencies and layout and code requirements and all these different facets. And so perhaps in the initial concept drawings they're identifying maybe 4 toilets for men and 4 for women and a couple of others, and now suddenly you need 6 of each and a whole bunch of drinking fountains, which takes up more space. And they start to look at how things are positioned on the property and how does that work when we really start to get into the detail of the inner workings of the facility. And so they're looking for efficiencies, and some of those are even with shared spaces on walls. For example, the initial iteration had, and it's changed. I'll share that it's changed how the studio rink kind of came out of the side where the existing ice rink was. It's been kind of shifted up and around towards the. Sorry, I'm just looking around. It's been shifted up and around towards the train tracks, so that it has more kind of shared wall space, and it just becomes more efficient for them to design and build. So, and it actually creates a better. Now we don't have a parking space that's all the way around. You got to walk around to the front entranceway. So I think these are things that we'll be sharing with the board shortly, but we're kind of still working through this ever-flowing process. But those are the sort of conversations that are going on right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that fair?
I think Terry covered it pretty well. The staff has been involved with, office spaces, as Terry mentioned, numbers of bathrooms they're looking at, that White is doing soil borings. They're meeting with the city, and looking at layout for traffic flow, what's required from the city. So there's a lot of, I can say that the plan as it is now, although it's changed a bit, we have all the elements in there at this point that were talked about during the referendum. They are concerned with cost, with the increase of, supplies and, everything's gone up. I think they told us 30 to 40% is what I heard from the White COO that was in meeting with me. So we're scheduled to meet with them tentatively next Tuesday to get, I think, was that today or yesterday, we got the revised plan. And then the costs they're gonna come back with us with costs, and then we're gonna bring it to the board, probably at the meeting after, as soon as we get it,
Okay.
at that
I
meeting.
was wondering about timeline too, when we was going to come back.
Yeah, we're still in design development, and we're
Plan
still
to be
in,
for quite some time still. So
right, and then there's permitting, and so we're on track in terms of what they said for design development was supposed to go through the spring. So we're getting pretty close on our end with that. So I think that's it. Does that make sense?
Sure, thanks.
Thought she was going to ask about sustainability.
I care about more than just sustainability. Come
I just didn't want to take it if you wanted it. I
No.
think it's great. The lighting efficiency is great. That happened. So thank you for that.
Yep.
All those things. And then this just seems like a real lot of stuff. How's the team doing?
we're diligent. We're moving forward. There's a lot. And this is actually very similar to the format that we use to kind of keep track of some of what's going on, so that we have follow up points on a regular basis with the team. So, yeah, there is a lot. There's a lot going on, but um, we committed to a lot of these different things, especially the capital projects when we applied for these grants and passed the referendum. And we have infrastructure still that needs to be, updated and replaced and things like that. So, I feel like we're actually functioning very well and managing it very well and keeping up with it. But yeah, it's a lot right now, but it's that time of year. So.
Want to talk about Woodland at all? Any
Yeah,
update on
yeah, I
Woodland?
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So Woodland, we did actually just have another project. We're having weekly project meetings again now. Just as of yesterday, we're still on track for project completion right at the end of May. We have tentatively scheduled the color coder for May 22nd. That should take 4 to 6 days, and then it'll be like an overnight, drying, curing process, and then those should be ready to be used. So if they're here on the 22nd, it takes those days. That puts us literally right at the end of May. We've been waiting for asphalt plants to open up and be producing the finished coat of asphalt. They've been producing now for a while the base layer, which is a rougher, more coarse layer of asphalt. And they're beginning to produce that in some form or fashion, but it seems that IDOT has swiped up all of the availability on that for their projects currently. So there is a potential that there'll be some availability here and there for right now if something opens up. And so we've put our name on a wait list, but otherwise we're tentatively scheduled for May 15th on that. Once that asphalt happens for the pathways, they can move right into the parking lot resurfacing. Parking lot resurfacing and the pathways happen. The landscaper can finalize the final grading and the landscaping out there. We can get the seed down, and those are really the last parts of the projects that we have. The contractor has been out. They reinstalled portions of the wood fence. The net posts have been installed already this year, so they've been out there working and doing work as they could with the little bit that they have left to do and as the weather has allowed. So they're very motivated. They actually have a meeting with the landscape contractor, subcontractor next week to talk through what portions can they do. The last time they had talked to their landscaper, there are certain trees weren't being dug yet at the nurseries, but they're anticipating that they're probably being dug now. So they're going to try to come through what can you get done now? Can we try to seed some of these bigger areas here and leave the areas closer to the path for final grading to get the grass to start growing over there? And how does that all work? So they're giving it every effort. They're anxious to get out of there and be done with the project. And we're sounding everything we're hearing right now is sounding very much like we're right on track to get this thing finished up at the end of May. Again, if the weather allows for it. So constantly looking for temperatures, basically 50 and above consistently for nighttime, evenings, whatever, for, several days in a row to be able to do the color coding, which is why that happens in May. So but we're heading in the right direction.
Is asphalt as affected by weather as the painting? Is that an issue?
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of in that same framework for the finished coat, because what happens is it'll cool down too much in the truck by the time you get it to the site, and if it's cooled down too much, it doesn't roll as tightly, and then it becomes more porous, and it doesn't have the same longevity. It opens up, water gets into it, it freezes, pops, and doesn't last like it should. So there's like IDOT specifications on the temperatures for that sort of thing, and written into our specifications to make sure that we have a good product.
So we're hoping for a very warm, dry
Yeah.
May to
Yes.
finally finish
Yeah,
that project.
unfortunately, we need a drought again for that, but then our grass isn't going to grow. So
You can't win.
we need it to be a drought, get everything done, and then we need it to start raining again. So, but yeah, we're definitely heading in the right direction and having our regular meetings. So.
I noticed too in the buildings part that there were broken sewer line, backed up sewer line, and new sump pumps. Did that March 31st storm mess with our sewer related water-related items, or like, or is
Well,
it just a coincidence?
It was
that
some of
all-
it was kind of coincidence.
Okay.
All of that happened within a week, though.
Okay, I was.
I mean, the staff was just beside themselves. Like, really, they were all kind of flukes. The sewer line at Hockey Building was an old cast iron pipe. The seam from the cast was pointing upward. It literally just rotted out and just overflowed one day. The other one, just Roots Main Park. It's an old line. We're going to start looking at pricing just to replace the main line as part of the capital budget for next year. So seems to be a good idea for the size of that building and the usage that it has. It's close to the road, so it probably won't be too much more than what a residential sewer line would cost in my estimation, but we're going to work on that for capital. And then the sump pumps, that all on that day, yes, they started noticing that. They were like, oh, first big hit of the season, and yes, so. But it had been years to their point. They were like, it's been years since they've had to replace any of the pumps, so it was kind of weird that they all happened at once. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Terry.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Cindy?
One more question about Forest View. Is having construction over there during the summer going to make a traffic problem even worse?
I don't think so. I mean, there'll be obviously there'll be a couple of trucks for the tradespeople that are working there, but the vast majority of the work happening is happening indoors. So, I mean, it's mostly indoor work. There is some site work happening.
Well, I guess
but
there's nothing you can do, but I had a house next door to me for over a year under construction, and 4 or 5 plus a dumpster.
yeah.
I'm just picturing on that block is so.
It's tight, and I'm not there as often as I used to be, but there's times in the day that it's relatively quiet. It's busy at drop off and at pickup again, but sometimes there are some growing pains that it'll be busy there, but
Yeah, and is there a driveway?
there is a driveway. The driveway is also scheduled to be replaced too at some point. So there's a driveway replacement, and then there'll be a pathway that goes to the back that connects with the pathway that goes from the current parking lot over to the Wildwood Nature Center, so that there's a connection point between the two of them. So it'll kind of feel more like a campus over there. And we do anticipate, I don't know that they actually get around to soft demo this week, but we do anticipate soft demo this week, early next week, and we anticipate a permit next week and demo to start within the next couple of days to a week there. So it's getting underway. But yeah, I don't know what other options we would have without missing a whole season of programming.
I know, it just seems unfortunate,
Yeah.
but what are we going to do?
When you were talking about the woodland painting in August, or I'm sorry, not August, but May, with the warm weather spell, do we also have some touch-up paint at JC? Is that the same crew? Or?
It would have been, but we had talked about that it was going to need to be touched up. We looked over it again. We had some reps out there, and it was determined that it was a good job. It sealed itself okay. There were a couple air bubbles in it, but it wasn't to a point that it was not finished properly. So we don't have any more that's going to happen out there.
That's good to know.
Yep.
Anybody else? We're putting Terry through the ringer tonight. Everybody's very engaged on buildings and grounds.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Tunnel.
Thank you. My policy update is there's a lot of policy updates coming soon. And I will pass it on to Intergovernmental Liaison, Commissioner Bd.
All right, and that brings us to personnel. I move to approve the Executive Director's 2023 goals as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Great. Thank you for the feedback. I wanted to highlight a couple things. On number 3, the level of maintaining the high level of customer service. This wasn't a change from when I sent it to you, to the board this time, but what we discussed during the, reporting and the review, that I'm going to add in the excellent and good ratings on those categories. And then some of them that I went back to were yes and no. So I just thought I'd specify that. And then when we go through it, I'll bring the whole survey because that was a little
So I don't
confusing.
get confused.
No, it was a little,
About the percentage.
it was a little misleading. Yeah, so I appreciate that. And then in section 2, I just got there was a discussion that Commissioner Holting and I actually had about, it said highlights of major initiatives, and I added the word additional, and we talked about what some of those things were. And I said, those are the things that pop up during the year that we did not put in the goals or the strategic plan. Some examples were, and I even hate to even say it, but COVID, some of the COVID initiatives that came up during the year, maybe some awards, that would come up, some unfunded mandates such as this Local Government Efficiency Act. These are the things that come up during the year that I think are important to highlight. We've done the staff turnover rate in this section before. So I added the word additional in there so I could clarify that. And then moving on into the tactics, strategic plan tactics, there were a few that received just some tweaking on page 44 under financial core area. I got a comment from Commissioner Grau about the seeking and apply for all applicable grants. I changed it for applicable grants and took the word all out because we're not going for all grants. Of course, we review them and there's some we're not going for. We're not going for ASLAD this year because we've got so much on our plate. We don't have another big initiative project. So that was another great comment. Page 45, under goal 4, maximize return on investment. We specified under strategy 1 that we will seek to earn 15% over the 5-year average on sponsorships. And this is just the sponsorship area. This doesn't include the grants and the other areas that we report on, that we get funds in for. So we specified that one, and I believe there was one. The very last page, page 48, under strategy 4, another suggestion. Bullet point 2 under strategy 4 is to try to work with another community sustainability group to explore partnering on an event. So that'll be once we get the new person in place. They'll have some more initiatives. So, those are the changes, so that I would point those out.
Any other comments or questions from any of the commissioners? All right, seeing none. Marianne, could you call the roll vote?
Sure.
Or the
Commissioner,
vote?
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Aye.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Halting,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner LeDuc.
Yes. All right, and then under communications and correspondence, there was the letter that April mentioned regarding the Power Play grant, so congratulations again. Any new business? All right, seeing none, I move to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing land acquisition per 2C5. We will reconvene to open session to take action, if any, on the item discussed in closed session. Is there a second?
Second.
Marianne, please call the roll or the vote.
Commissioner Coyne,
Aye.
Commissioner Grau,
Yes.
Commissioner Halting,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunnel,
Yes.
Commissioner Bendy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner LeDuc.
Yes. All right, so we'll wait a couple minutes. I now reconvene the regular board meeting of the Park Ridge Park District Board of Commissioners. It is approximately 8:26 p.m., still Thursday, April 20th. And now I move to adjourn the meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Meeting adjourned.